Well, hey everybody, glad you're with us here on the live show. Missed it last week. I was in Toronto with Motoring TV doing the Kia K5 GT, which is quite a car. What an engine. So that's going to be coming up on a future episode of Motoring TV. You know what? At the very beginning, just indulge me for a second. Andrea, as you know, there's a lot of the Instagram stories, and she's always complaining that when she promotes the live show, it's always me looking down, reading, or talking. So I'm going to fake a few. So you'll see these. When you see the live show promoted, you'll see me. And so she wants me to do like a smile. I gotta fake it. So maybe one more. So these are for her. All right. So now she can get screenshots of that and use them. All right. We have a lot of stuff coming up. So this morning, late last night, it depends if you're on the West Coast or not, the GV80 video dropped. So that's on today. If you haven't watched it, please watch it. In 2 weeks' time, the G80 video will drop. I have had a chance to drive it. So the video on the sedan that the GV80 is based on, that video is coming out. This week, we get the Mazda 3 Turbo. A lot of interest in the Mazda 3 Turbo, of course, with the new engine that they use in the CX-5 is going to be in there. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Is it like a GTI alternative? We're going to find that out. We just picked up this morning the GLA. That is the small crossover vehicle from Mercedes-Benz. I actually really like it. We're going to tell you more about that. We also have coming up in 2 weeks the Porsche Taycan. There's already a video. I went to the launch that was in Norway last year. Right around this time last year. And so that video is already available to watch. But Andrew and I are going to be doing the Taycan. We're also going to be getting the SQ5. So the 500 horsepower version of the... Sorry, Q7, not Q5. The SQ5, 500 horsepower version of the Q7. The brand new Lexus IS is coming. In the first week of December, we get to drive that. Also getting the all-new Toyota Sienna hybrid vehicle, and the all-new Elantra is coming. So lots going on the channel. Excuse me. I don't have COVID. I just cough a lot because I have reflux. So there you go. Let's get into the questions. Oh, before we go, I just want to let you know, sign up for Car Cost Canada if you're in Canada. Use the promo code MOTORMOUTH, become an expert member, and it opens up all of the searches for you. If you're in the market for a brand new car, any kind of incentives, you'll get those. Okay, Raymond is here. Hey, Zach. I was surprised that the dealer of my Porsche Cayenne 2019 gave only $50,000 for exchange for a Cayenne GTS, shocked after 1.5 years. So I'm not sure if you had a GTS for exchanging Cayenne GTS. Well, I'm not sure how many miles are on your car. Here's the thing about a dealer. A dealer is going to give you the wholesale price, and then they're going to clean the car up and stick it out on the lot and charge the retail price. So if you don't like the offer that they're giving you, then sell it yourself and get more money for it. It doesn't sound like that is the right price, because the resale value of Cayennes is really quite high. The only thing I can think of, no, that's the new model, so I don't see why it would be cheaper. Hey, Zach from Chicago, do you prefer Kia styling language or Hyundai styling? I feel Kia styling is more sporty looking, bold, and futuristic. Generally, I would agree with you, but I think some of the new Hyundai products, like the new Tucson, I'm not sure if you've seen the new Tucson. They're going to be showing it, unveiling it. There's a video on the channel showing the new Tucson. But there's going to be like a release of the vehicle coming up shortly. I think that looks really, really good. They've got the lights, the LED daytime running lights are integrated into the grille. Very cool design. So I think there are some very strong wins on the Hyundai side, and certainly quite a few on the Kia side. But if it's between the Palisade, say for example, and the Telluride, for me, I think the Telluride looks better. So I agree with you there. Hey Zach, is the Mazda MX-5 still considered a chick car? All the reviews suggest it's one of the most fun cars out there. how would you compare it to the BMW 230i manual in terms of fun? There really is no other car on the road, in my opinion, that is as fun to drive as the MX-5 Miata in terms of just pure joy for the size of the car and the price that it costs. Now, the BMW is certainly a nice car, but it isn't an MX-5 Miata. I mean, it gets this chick car mantle. People say, oh, it looks like a chick car, but those are people who've never driven one. And I always say this, if you have never driven a Miata, an MX-5 Miata, you owe it to yourself. If you're an auto enthusiast, and obviously you're into cars because you're watching a guy talking about cars on a YouTube channel, so you're obviously into it, you owe it to yourself to drive one of these cars, because pound for pound, dollar for dollar, there is no better car on the road. It's one of the best cars ever made, period, if you ask me. Oh, coming in.
Hello.
Oh, hey, Jack.
Here you go.
Coors Light?
Yeah.
I'm sending that back. I'm not drinking Coors Light. Oh, okay, that was a gag. Hey, so come and say hi to everybody, Jack. Jack had a midterm test in college today. How'd you do?
I got 80.
You rounded it up.
I did round it up. 77, but we'll take it.
Okay, looking good.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, out you go.
All
Good
right,
one,
there you
Jack. Coors Light. You know I don't drink that crap.
Why not?
Coors Light.
What's so bad about, what the beer of the mountains or whatever they call it?
Out you
So
go
bad
with
about
that. All right, see you later. Coors Light. I don't think so. I know a lot of people give me crap because they drink like Stella and Beck's and Peroni. They said, why do you like support some microbreweries? Trust me, I do. But this is easier to get at the liquor store. That's a good. All right. Ian Fu, any strategies on owning a 911 but to keep the cost down? Lease versus finance, new versus use, selling at a certain time to take advantage of high residual. All right. One of the problems, if you're in Canada, one of the problems with buying a 911 is there are no cars coming across the border any longer. So when the Canadian and US dollars were kind of at par or very close to at par, there were a lot of cars coming up from the US. And that helped keep the price down, especially for used cars. But because the Canadian dollar's been in the crapper now for several years, there are very few, if any, 911s rolling across the border. So what you have in the used market is the cars that are available to buy used were only sold in Canada new. So the pool of available used cars is small. And what we're seeing is the used prices of Porsches are not going down, unfortunately. We're still seeing the prices remain high. So what's the best strategy? Probably leasing one. I would still go for a used car. You know, you're probably best to go for a car that's like 10 years old, right? And try and stay in there. Now, when you're getting into a 10-year-old Porsche, then you're adding in the extra cost of maintenance. But yeah, there is no real correct answer. The best strategy for getting a Porsche is to not get a 911, but to get a Boxster S. A lot less expensive, more of them around. In my opinion, the best bang for the buck in the Porsche family. Those three numbers, you charge a premium for having 911 associated with the Porsche that you're buying, and it's expensive. Okay, so there's no real great answer. Super chat here. Clancy79. Will Canada get the Volkswagen ID3 next to the ID4? No, we will not be getting the ID3. We're not even confirmed we're going to get it at all. So the first car that's coming is the ID4. Apparently, the very first North American models will be arriving before the end of the year for the U.S. market. The U.S. is getting the ID4 first. And then towards late spring, early summer, the Canadian ID4 cars will be coming. So all of the 2021 ID4s will be made in Europe. And then they'll be brought here as imports. The 2022 ID4s will be built in the Chattanooga assembly plant in Tennessee. And that will produce a lot more, that will drive a lot more volume for the United States, Mexico, and Canada to have a North American-based electric car manufacturing plant. The plan is after the ID4, which is their compact utility, is to bring up probably the Volkswagen bus or some other larger vehicle that North Americans seem to want. It isn't even confirmed that the ID3 is coming to North America. If there's a big request for it, I don't think there is, because the electric car market right now is kind of saturated with small hatchbacks, whether it's the Leaf or the Nero or all of these hatchback cars. There's lots of those. SUVs, no, not so much. So that's why they're doing the ID4 first. But thank you for the super chat. And if anybody wants to do a super chat, feel free. C Square, hi Zach, is that the Carrera you used to have on the picture of your channel? Yeah, so when I put these live shows out, there's a little thumbnail I use. That is my old 993. I had two of them. I had a red Carrera S, and then I had a black Carrera 4S. Both of them were 1997. And then the purist, a lot of people will say, oh, Carrera S is the one you want to have, just rear-wheel drive. They're definitely more sought after and rare, but living with them in everyday situations, especially here in rainy Vancouver, on a cold day like today, I like the 4S because there's no traction or stability control or anything like that. It was nice to have the all-wheel drive. So there you go. Great cars. Raj is here saying hi. There he is. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Any thoughts on the Mark 8 Golf R just introduced? I hear well-equipped is 54,000 euros in Germany. If it's equivalent to anywhere near the North America, VW is going to have a tough sled. So I want to apologize because on the last live show, which was 2 weeks ago, I did say that I would be having a Golf R video. So what happened was I kept on emailing and texting the PR rep for Volkswagen Canada, Thomas Tetzlaff, saying, when are we getting these? When are we getting the video? Because typically what happens is they send me the video in advance under embargo, make sure I don't share it with anybody. I make a little short video, 2 or 3 minutes long, with voiceover and images and video, and then I put it out when the embargo lifts. So I kept on emailing and texting Thomas to go, where is this B-roll footage of the new Golf R? And he says, they don't have any. All we have are 8 photographs. So I was in Toronto. I brought my laptop that I'm using here, my editing and all that. I was expecting, I brought a microphone. I was expecting to do it. And there was nothing. And I actually phoned Thomas today. I said, what the hell happened with that Golf R video B-roll? He says, we don't have any. He says, I was even in contact with them today, and there isn't any. He said there might be some coming in the next few days. If there is, I will do a quick video on it. Thomas has said that the pricing of the Golf R is going to be very attractive. He wouldn't give the price. It's going to come closer to its arrival in about a year's time from now. It's not going to be arriving in the summer of 2021, probably the fall of next year. It's only a few sleeps away. But he said the pricing is going to be very good. Right now, the Golf R in Canada is right around $50,000 from the Canadian market. My guess is it's probably going to be a few $1,000s more, but probably not dramatically more. Dr. JBN. Hey, Zach, what are your thoughts on the new C8, especially they go over MSRP at dealers and secondhand recently? Do you feel like they will retain their value long term? I think what you have now is you just have a scarcity of supply. If I was in the C8 market, I wouldn't be paying over retail for a C8. I would just order one and wait for it to be delivered. So what happened was the C8 production started in the end of February, beginning of March. I went to the launch in Vegas in February, and then they said, we're going to start production. I think they got like 2 or 3 weeks worth of production done. COVID hit, everything got shut down. And then they didn't want to produce 2020s. They waited, they wanted to do 2021. So there was this big hole in the marketplace of people who ordered and wanted their C8, couldn't get them, and we haven't gone through that yet. So if you were in the market for a C8, I would just work with your dealer and order one and hope to get it by sort of spring of next year. Hopefully that would be the case so you can drive it in the nice weather. Is it going to remain over MSRP? I don't think so. The same thing has happened with other cars, like when the GTR first came out, 10 plus years ago, people were paying over retail. It didn't last. Raj has got a good question. I get this question once in a while. What's the difference between putting nitrogen and air in tires? Does nitrogen perform better? Nitrogen doesn't expand under heat and cooling cycles. So nitrogen was first introduced into the racing world. As you know, when you're going around an oval or on a racetrack, heat is built up in the tires and air expands, and the tire pressure changes. So that's why in Formula One, they would wrap the tires and heat them and then they put them on. Now that's also to make them sticky, but that was always a problem. As you started driving and driving aggressively, heat would build in the tires, the tire pressure would change. With nitrogen in racing, you can set the tire pressure, put it on the car, and the nitrogen doesn't expand when it gets warmer, so that's how they can have consistent tire pressures. So that's really the advantage that you have. If a tire retailer is going to put it in for free, have at it. No harm doing that. I think Costco does it and they don't charge for it. But if someone's going to charge you to put nitrogen in the tires instead of air, just put air in. I mean, it's been working for 100 years. It'll be just fine. If you're driving a high-performance car at high speed, maybe make a difference. But for the average bear driving to work, whatever, save your money. Hey, we got another super chat. Coors Light is great. It's 100% degree. It's if it's 100 degrees and humid, still not usually my first pick in lighter beers. Have a Pilsner Arkell on me. Well, that's very nice, and thanks for the super chat. And I agree with you. It would have to be a really hot, humid day for me to be drinking Coors Light. You know what I like? I like Miller Genuine Draft. That's not bad for American beer. You know, there's not a lot of American beer fans in Canada. Like, you get some people that like American beer, but most people in Canada are kind of not big fans of American beer. What does American beer and making love in a canoe have in common? This is an old joke. What does American beer and making love in a canoe have in common? They're both effing close to water. There you go. And I'm not saying the real one, because then I have to, when I upload the video, I have to say, was there any swearing? And I'm not going to bother. Jim Carson's, hey, I finally made it on time. Nice to see you here, brother. I noticed that the Mark 7 and 7.5 Golf outside of North America has driver near airbag as standard equipment, but not available here. It's because of regulations or some other reason? I don't think so, because Toyota, for example, started putting in knee airbags years ago. I think General Motors has as well. I think it's probably just got to do with the production facility. The Golfs that we have here come from Mexico, and the ones that you get in Europe come from Wolfsburg. Next year when the GTI and the Golf R arrive, they will also be from Europe. Getting a wave from Lawrence Lamb. Nice to see you. Thanks for being here. Maybe it's been covered somewhere before, but why do manufacturers have their speedometers in excess of 240 or 260 with no speed limits allow them to go to that speed anywhere? It just doesn't mean anything. Speedometers mean nothing other than it's just a dial on the dash as a representative of speed. You could make it go to 1,000 kilometers. It doesn't mean anything. They do it often like a watch dial to balance out the dial to make it symmetrical. So putting a high speed, it's just silly. I don't know why they do it, but yeah, that's all it is. Cheers from Quebec, having an Arbor tonight. Is that a Scottish whiskey? I think so. I don't know that one. I'm pretty sure it is. Josh sent me an email yesterday, and Josh, I'm glad to see you here. Josh is a realtor in the Montreal area. He sent me this beautiful picture of a chalet at Mont Tremblant. What is it, 14,000 square feet and $3.5 million? If that was here in Vancouver, it would be probably $15 to $20 million. It's just different, crazy how the prices of real estate differ so widely depending on where you live. But yeah, Josh, that's a great listing, dude. $3.5 million, 14,000 square foot chalet in Mont Tremblant. That's good. That's good work, man. Good for you. So Josh is out there driving his G50. He says, great GV80 video. I think Genesis will take Infinity's place in the market as Infinity dies slowly and Genesis arrives with stunning vehicles. Yeah, I would say that is true. However, There are new Infinities in the pipeline. There's a new QX60 and a QX55. I got an invite from Infinity last week to go to a virtual release online, like a chat sort of thing they have with their engineers. Actually, their head of design, Alfonso, doing a live sort of Zoom call for the QX55. Okay, so the way that car companies get into trouble is with product, and the way they get out of trouble is with product. Now, regular viewers of this live show, I've been on record of saying that the arrival of Genesis on the scene in the premium space is making everybody sit up and pay attention. For example, I mentioned it in the GV80 video. There's a new MDX coming, and I mentioned the new Infiniti QX60. So if they can come to market with a really compelling and nicely designed vehicle at a good price, that's going to be the key for Infiniti. If Infiniti can come to market and just shave the price a little bit under everybody else, then they'll get some volume. And the reason why I kept on bringing up the Acura MDX in the GV80 video is it's not a direct competitor in terms of feature for feature, but it is the best-selling luxury three-row utility vehicle. I mean, they were the very first to have standard three-row seats in a utility vehicle, a luxury brand, was Acura. 20 years the MDX has been out. They have a brand new one coming in the next few months. It looks pretty damn good, and knowing the way Acura prices it, they have a great story to tell. I think that the new MDX is probably going to sell better than ever. So that's why I criticize the GV80. I think the GV80 is beautifully done. It drives well. The turbo 4-cylinder is great. The 6 is even better. I just think their pricing. I told the director of Genesis. I said, I think your pricing is wackadoodle for what you're charging for this, because. Like, for example, the Q7, I went online and looked. So the Technic top version of the Q7 is $3,000 or $4,000 less than the GV80. I mean, it's still a bigger vehicle with a standard 3 rows of seats, and it's a freaking Audi. It's got badge appeal. I think that for a new young brand trying to break into the market, have all the features that you have, and that's great. But I think you need to start a little bit more competitive on price and then slowly build it up. We'll see. I'm not sure. I might be totally wrong. I've been wrong before. Here's a good question. Tony Bauer, 32. For my wife, Q3 or GLA 2021, thanks. Well, this is going to be a real conundrum because we just picked up the GLA today, and Andrea and I were doing some pictures for Instagram. You're going to see her video pop up tomorrow. So on Instagram, by the way, if you don't follow along, get your phone now and go to motormouth_Andrea and follow along, because she does the questions for the videos every week on her Instagram, so you'll have that tomorrow for the GLA. I am really torn on this one because I think there's the 3 that I like the best. I like the GLA, the new one, the one I just picked up today. The Q3 I think is fantastic, and also the XC40 from Volvo is a fantastic product. All 3 of these are really, really sort of high marks for what car brands can do well. So they're not opulent, they're not outrageously expensive. They're what most people kind of need and use, especially in urban environments. I would probably say it's drive them both and pick the one your wife likes better. I think that is a great decision to have and an exercise to go through, but also drive the Volvo. I think that one will surprise you as well. Do you have any info on the new diesel will be available in the Tahoe Yukon? I don't know when it's coming. It is coming. What I would do is I would contact the dealer and ask them. They'll have a better idea for timeline. I know with COVID and the production being shut down, the manufacturers, and I heard this from General Motors, because the guy that we pick up our General Motors press cars from is the purchaser for one of the biggest dealerships here in the Vancouver area. So he buys all the trims and he decides what they're going to get. And he said certain trims with certain engines and certain specifications, they're just not available. So when he goes in to order them, General Motors is saying, no, not doing it. So what they're doing is they're simplifying their production runs to probably produce the vehicles that most people buy. And then when they can catch up, because there's a massive demand for pickup trucks, for the new large SUVs from the General Motors family, whether it's the Escalade, the Tahoe, and all of them. So they're going to get out the door all of the sort of mainline cars that people buy, and then they'll start filling them in with all the specialty stuff. He's told me that there's certain features that you just can't even click on because they're not making them. They're just doing a simplified kind of run on them. So what I would do is I would contact the dealer and ask them. They're going to have a better idea than me. And I'm not picking up a General Motors car for a while, so or else I would ask for you. I like this. Laugh out loud, Coors Light. And then Stefan is saying, no Coors Light. It's crap, Zach. Thank you. I'm not going to disagree with that. TK Porsche. So Ian Fu was asking about the best way to buy a 911, and TK Porsche says steal one. You used to have it for a few hours. Hey Zach, beer o'clock, parallel 49 Ninja here. If I sell my car and don't want to buy or exchange right away, is there a way I can claim the tax paid for the previous vehicle in the future? I believe there is a certain window. It might be a very short period of time. I would get in touch with a dealer or and find out about that. I could ask my friend Cornelius that owns Core Cars, but typically no. Once you sell a car and if you're not trading it in and using that tax deferral towards the next vehicle, it's going to be gone. There might be a very short window where they allow that, but I would check with a dealer. I want to purchase the new Mazda 3 2.5T in a few weeks. Would you suggest any alternatives? Well, probably the GTI. I would go with the Kia Forte 5 GT, which is 201 horsepower, and then you go on the Hyundai side is the Elantra GT. So those are probably your best alternatives. You might want to try maybe the Crosstrek Turbo, not Turbo. Is it turbo? No, the Crosstrek 2.5, not turbocharged. The larger four-cylinder of that. Not really the same, but there you go. Oh, here's a follow-up to that. 2021 Crosstrek or the CX-30. Both are good choices. If you're going to get the Crosstrek, get the 2.5 liter, get the larger engine. It pumps the power up to where I think it kind of should be. And the same thing for the CX-30. If you're going to buy it with the larger engine, the 2.5 liter. Both are great choices. I would say if it was me gut feeling first reaction, it would probably be the Mazda. However, the Crosstrek has more space. It's got bigger doors. It's more usable. If it's for utility, it's going to be Crosstrek. If it's just for you driving around and using utility once in a while, I'd go for the Mazda. Cars will be commoditized like laptops and phones. 30K car now has heated steering wheel and features found on 100,000 cars just a few years ago. 40,000 cars pushing 300 horsepower. That's true. That's a good point. Like, what makes a luxury car anymore? For example, we had this K5 GT last week in Toronto. It's got loads of power. It's got every feature you could ever want. It's heated this, heated that, leather, nice looking screens, the whole thing. But is it a luxury car? No, it's a Kia. It's a mainline car. So what you have is, it's really just badge appeal. Back to my Genesis thought for a moment. Do they have enough badge appeal yet to demand the same price as the German luxury brands and maybe even some American luxury brands? I'm not sure. That's one of the things I've noticed about Cadillac is they're being much more aggressive on price. And the sales of the CT6 in the last few months has shot way up because they've been very aggressive with their pricing, which leads me to believe that price is a contributing factor because most people don't buy a luxury vehicle. They lease a luxury vehicle. It all comes down to payments. But I agree with you. I mean, the features that are available, even in a Honda Civic, are mind-boggling. It's crazy. And they're like 20 grand. Love the channel. Keep up the great, honest reviews. So I appreciate that. C Square says, hit the like button, everyone. Where are we at? We're 204 people on board and 61 likes. We can do better than that. Let's get that up there. ND Miata is a joy-inducing machine. If you can fit and you can make it work in your life, because it's not practical. It's crazy fun. It's not an unpractical car. The trunk is actually quite useful. I mean, it's a great sense of packaging. Like, yeah, if you're super tall, maybe not the right car for you. But as a second car, I mean, I could easily go to the grocery store and buy, $150 worth of groceries and put them in the trunk, and no problem. Go away for a weekend. New fan from Montreal here. When are you going to test drive the Tucson 2022? Well, the vehicle hasn't even been, it's been kind of introduced virtually. They're doing, I could look on my email, there was something that came down today. They're going to have sort of like an event in California that's coming up shortly. So the car isn't here yet. So as soon as the car is here, I will get my hands on it. By the way, Car Cost Canada just popped up there. Make sure you sign up using the promo code MOTORMOUTH to get all the deals. Become an expert member. It opens up searches for you. Speaking of Hyundai, Tucson, I'm not sure on the timeline. It is coming. Obviously, its arrival is imminent. The new Elantra, they're doing an event in Ottawa this week. I think it's tomorrow. Wasn't invited. Not that I want to go back east again. But the car's coming here in a few weeks, and I'll get a chance to drive it. Josh is back saying, my buddy with a leasing company bought the remaining new Audi e-tron inventory from Audi Canada and is making $70,000 for them, which is a steep discount. Starting to look like a value. Wait a second. He bought all the e-tron inventory from Audi Canada, is asking $70,000 for them. It's a steep discount, starting to look like value. Well, that is crazy. I don't know. Are you pulling my leg, Josh? Why would they do that? Interesting though, it's, we put out, what video was it the other, it was the Porsche Cayenne Coupe. The video came out a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago. And somebody wrote from Paris and said that, it's funny what North Americans like versus what we like in Europe, because he said that the e-tron is very popular in Northern Europe. And I went and I looked and I saw the sales figures. He had said that the e-tron was the best-selling luxury utility in Europe. Well, that's not the case. If you go and you look up sales of luxury European cars, in Europe right now, GLE is number one because it's brand new this year, right? So people with money want a Mercedes GLE. And number two is the X5. And number three is e-tron, actually, but not number one. And number three, the e-tron is way up there because Norway, the best-selling electric vehicle in Norway is not a Tesla. It is a Audi. It's the e-tron. So I'm not really sure why they would dump the cars to gray market like that. But there you go. That's not good for anybody that has an Audi e-tron, because that shows you the residual value isn't there. Back to my argument about a lot of electric cars is that the problem is they come out with a new one with better range and faster charging, and then what does that do to the value of the old one? That's my worry about it, right? So there you go. I'd love to know the details on that, Josh, because that sounds intriguing. Byron is here with a super chat. Hi, I'm looking to buy a 19 RAV4 or 19 CRV. I'm worried about the CVT transmission. Which one should I buy, or do you have another recommendation? Well, here's the simple answer, Byron. I'm going to give you your $4.99's worth. Is if you are concerned about the CVT, the answer is simple. Go and buy the RAV4. There's nothing wrong with the RAV4 at all. Between those two, I would suggest that that would be my choice. However, this vehicle here, the new Rogue, holy crap, did they do a good job with the new Rogue. The new Rogue is fantastic. But same again, CVT comes into play, and everybody crapped on the Rogue. If you go and watch the video, you can see all the comments. Crappy CVT, who would buy it, who wants a CVT? All I can do is judge it on how it drives. I can't tell you whether it's going to be good or bad in terms of reliability. But the new Rogue is great. They did a fantastic job on it. Watch all the videos, read all the reviews. You're going to get the same theme coming through again. So that is an excellent product. Now, there's also the Hyundai Tucson that is coming, and it's going to be imminent in the next few months. So that might be worth waiting on. But if it's between the CRV and the RAV4 and you're worried about the CVT, well, then just buy the RAV4. Nothing wrong with that. Oh, by the way, there's something there about Avalor is a space-sized single malt Scotch whiskey. Strathspey in Scotland. Okay, if it's a Speyside whiskeys are my favorite. Those are, so I haven't tried that one. So I will have to take you up on that offer and dig one up. I don't drink much whiskey because I get a killer headache the next day, but I do like one once in a while. So I got to find out where the hell I was. Okay, there's Josh's comment. When an engine changes from one triple, I don't know what that means. Oh, Stefan is asking, how did the Cayenne repair work out? So our Cayenne was hit by a lady on her smartphone. So my son goes to high school up the road, and it was pouring rain. So Andrea says, I'll give you a lift to school. And you drop the kids down a laneway. And she was stopped at the end of the laneway trying to pull out onto the main road. We have a white Cayenne with bright red LED lights across the back. And she's sitting there, wait to merge out onto the main road. Bam, this woman punches the back of the car. So I said, you know what happened? She probably dropped her kid off at school and was on her phone checking her messages or texts or whatever. And then how do you drive into a white car with red lights that's parked and is not moving? I don't know how you do that. Anyway, they fixed it, came out beautiful. The problem was the bottom of the bumper, there's two little hard plastic pieces, black on the bottom. It took like 10 days to get those plastic pieces. But yeah, I'll tell you what, repainting a bumper on a Cayenne is not a cheap exercise. Didn't affect our insurance, though. It looks great. Okay, here's the question in full now. When an engine changes from one triple to another, why does the transmission change, for example, from an 8-speed to a wet dual clutch? What they do is they make engines and transmissions not in pairs, like they don't design them to be only used with those, but there's common production processes for brands, and what you'll see is that we will see one engine and one transmission used for a bunch of products. So you might have that engine and transmission kind of married in a car, then they'll use it in a utility, then they'll use it in another brand. So you're referring obviously to the Korean cousins, Kia and Hyundai. So they'll use it in a varied bunch of different products, and probably for just sheer production simplicity, they keep them together, and also there will be engineering involved. If it's a different torque load for a higher horsepower engine, one transmission might be better than another. For example, you get like the Seltos, the Kia Seltos. You get continuously variable transmission in the main engine. If you go to the higher horsepower 1.6 liter turbo, then it goes to an automatic transmission, and you'll see that engine with that transmission throughout the family range. So it's probably just done for production reasons and keep it simple, right? Is there a downside to buying a 10-year-old used 911 from the US versus Canadian spec? Well, from my friend Cornelius, who owns Core Cars, and you see the videos that I put up every week or two, he believes that the cars in Canada that are sold by a lot of the used dealers are in better condition. Because what passes for a nice, clean example in the States it's not to the same level. So when you're buying a car out of the United States, you have to really do your homework because there's a lot more cars, a lot more people touching them, a lot more shady people to deal with. I'm not saying that just because they're American they're shady, but his experience is that the cars that are in Canada often have better maintenance, and the dealers that sell them to a different standard. For example, he bought 3 cars off a dealer in the US, and he said, are they, from dealer to dealer, are they good to go? And the guy goes, oh yeah, they're great. They're fully updated and serviced and ready to go. So he buys them and he brings them here and he looks at them and he says, this isn't anything near what I would put out as fully up-to-date and serviced car. So he had all 3 of them updated and spend thousands of dollars getting them to the point where he could stand behind them and sell them. So now that's him as an individual case. Here's what I would suggest. Don, call my friend Cornelius at Core Motor Cars, Core Cars, CORCARS, corecars.com. Give him a call and ask him what he thinks. He buys and sells 911s all day long. That's basically his bread and butter. So ask him and see what he says, because he's my expert with this kind of stuff. If it was me and I was in Canada and I was looking for a car, I'd buy a Canadian car. That's the way I would do it. And I'd buy a West Coast car, because West Coast cars have an easy life, let me tell you. Hey, Zach, what are your thoughts on the Chevy Orlando available in Canada, not the U.S.? Also, do they still sell it in Canada? No, I don't. No, they don't. They don't. No, they don't. That was, you know what's interesting? That vehicle must have been sold in Russia, because the video I did of that, it wasn't sold in the United States. It got tens of thousands of views, and then I looked and it was like a lot of them were from Russia. It was crazy. No, it's not still for sale. What are your thoughts on it? I think, that's now an older car. There's probably other stuff, especially in the General Motors lineup, that they do. I liked it. I thought it was well done, but yeah, that's an older car now. Fan Zhang says, I got a super chat. Appreciate that. Did I miss something here? Oh, he's removed his question. No, anyway. All right, I apologize. All right, back to where I was. Where the hell was I? What are the best alternatives to a Range Rover? Something with higher drive position and ability to handle like a car. If you want to have the off-road capability of a Range Rover and have good on-road dynamics, it's going to be a Jeep Grand Cherokee, because you can get the air suspension in a Grand Cherokee just like you can in a Range Rover. So if you want to go off-roading, so you're going to get the very capable all-wheel drive systems available. Like there's several of them for the Jeep Grand Cherokee. You can actually get the air suspension if you want to raise and lower, and you're going to get good on-road driving dynamics, and also plenty of engine choices. So you can get the 3.6, you can get the Hemi, you can get the SRT, you can get, there's as much as your budget will allow. But the Jeep Grand Cherokee would be as close as I can think of to the capability of a Range Rover for off-roading, and then the on-road dynamics, and a lot less expensive. I just received an intricate details on the new Sorento trim levels from Calgary dealership. Disappointed that the third row is not an option to delete. Isn't that where the Telluride is? So what was interesting, so Sorento, same thing again. There's a video on the channel. When it was released, I did one of these sort of a quick little car videos about the features. And the interesting thing about Sorento is it's a tweener. Okay, so it's not a compact utility like a Tucson, and it's not a full-size SUV or utility like the Telluride or Palisade. But they have a unique proposition in the marketplace where the Santa Fe is smaller and the Sorento is larger. It's never, in my opinion, going to replace the Palisade or the Telluride when it comes to straight out room. But there is a space in the market for a three-row sort of compact plus utility vehicle. So that's really where they're playing. I'm not too fussed about having a standard third row of seats, because if you don't need them, you just fold them down, you got all that cargo space. And that's where that vehicle plays. It's kind of all on its own, in its own little category. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. The GMC Acadia would be another one. They're sort of in that sort of space. It's kind of in between, because when they brought up the Acadia a couple years ago, they actually made it smaller. Like the Chevy Traverse is bigger, and the Acadia is just a little bit smaller. So those are two that are kind of tweeners, if you know what I mean. Why don't the Japanese or Koreans make slightly more performance-oriented SUVs? Even Ford has joined up the bandwagon with the ST lineup. I want to see CRV Type R. Does that sound silly? Well, you're going to start to see that on the Acura side. They're going to get the Type S, so the higher performance turbocharged six-cylinder engine that you have with the TLX. So there's the TLX. So that's coming soon, and next year we're going to have the 3-liter turbo. They're going to have that engine also in the MDX. So you're going to be able to get a performance Japanese Acura with a higher horsepower engine. But I agree with you. For example, we don't get the Tiguan R that they get in Europe with the higher horsepower engine and all the go fast bits on it, they just don't bring it in. But then again, you know, if you're wanting a higher horsepower version of that, then they'll sell you an Audi Q3. So it's probably why you don't see it in the mainline cars, because they'll sell you a higher horsepower car, inherently higher horsepower, with the luxury division. So, for example, CRV is, what's the number off the top of my head? It's just under 200 horsepower. And then you get the RDX that's based on the CRV platform is 270 horsepower. It's a massive jump in power, but it's the prestige brand versus the mainline. I think that's what they're doing there. Sorry, I'm jumping around here. PH Subaru dropped theirs on the Foresters and put a, I don't know what that means. Hey, we got greetings from Lima, Peru. Love your content. Appreciate that. Did you try the augmented reality navigation in the GV80? If yes, how was it? Now, well, I've got an interesting story to tell you. So I picked up the G80 at the airport in Toronto, and then I drove it to the GV80 program up at Blue Mountain. I couldn't get the navigation to work. I couldn't do it. I tried for half an hour to use voice commands. I tried to write the destination on the trackpad and get it on the screen. I couldn't get it to work. So what I did was I went in the trunk, I pulled out a cable, I plugged my Android phone in, and I used Android Auto. And I got the address, and I was on my way in a matter of 30 seconds. And then I got there and I said, that infotainment system is a hot mess. And the more I used it, the better I got at it. But I don't like it. Like, put it this way. It was not intuitive at all. I didn't think it was good. And what I did think was cool, the GV80 has a 3D instrument cluster on the top model. So what it does is there's two infrared little cameras, I think, that are looking at your left and right eye. And when you move, it can sense when you're moving. And it projects an image on the screen to one eye and then one to the other eye. And at first you look at the speedometer and the instrument cluster, and is that 2D? And then boom, it pops into 3D. And if you move your head around once in a while, it can be a little fuzzy, and then boom, it pops back to 3D. It's very cool. It wasn't distracting. It's quite pleasing on the eyes, actually. And I thought that was really cool. But the infotainment system, the dial, and I just thought, I didn't like it. And I drove the car for 3 days, maybe 4 days. I arrived on the Tuesday, drove on the Wednesday. Yeah, for 3 days I drove with that system. And I didn't like it. Super chat from TK Porsche. Zach, try the Aberlour expression if you like the intense sherry matured whiskey, aka the Sherry Bomb. Highly recommend it. All right, I'll have to give it a shot. See, I don't like the peaty whiskeys. I'm Scottish. My dad's from Edinburgh. My mum lives in Edinburgh, so I've drunk plenty of whiskey through my days. But these really hardcore peaty ones, I can't drink them. They're not for me at all. I like the Speyside. I like the smooth, easy-going ones. My favorite sort of go-to whiskey is Oban. That's my favorite. So there you go. We have 240 people on board right now, and we're at 92 likes. So hit the like button if you can. I would appreciate that. I had a chance to upgrade my 19 RDX to a 2021 MDX. Is it worth the wait, or should I? Is it worth it, or should I wait for the new MDX? Here's the thing: the current MDX is kind of like old, right? Like that interior, that dash, that infotainment system is old. That the dual screen setup that they have, don't like it, and I would wait. So the reason why they're wanting you to bump into the 2020, they're trying to blow them out before the new one arrives. There's still going to be some around. So when the new 2021 comes, you can go look at it. And then if there's got a screaming hot deal on an MDX, a current one, you can take them up on that. So that's up to you. I bet you will have trouble pronouncing my name. Lalith Kumar? I don't know. You tell me. Did I get it right? Does RAV4 Prime top-end trim worth more money compared to the RAV4 Hybrid? Well, now you're in Ottawa, so you're only getting $5,000 off for the federal rebate. If you were just across the river in Gatineau, you would be getting, I think it's $13,000 off for Quebecers, or 13.5. It's a lot off. I'm not sure it's worth it if you're going to be able to save the difference in the price, because it's expensive. Like the RAV4 Prime is expensive. I'm a big fan of the RAV4 Hybrid. I think that at $33,000 for the base RAV4 Hybrid, that's a lot of value in there. So yeah, if it's just based on value, I don't think there is value. You're ever going to make up the difference in the price compared to the regular RAV4. Just my thoughts. But you could move across the river and get a discount. Hey, this is cool. Hey, Zach from New Zealand. Just wanted to say hello. We've had Australia, but never New Zealand come on the show. So appreciate that. Any reflections on how the ceramic coating on your Porsche that you got a while back has fared? It's doing well. I'm really happy with it. I would suggest it's expensive. But for someone that has a car that lives outside in an old neighborhood with big trees and nasty birds crapping on it, there's some sort of relief and that there's some protection on the car, and I can hose it off really easily. Like when you wash it, it's really easy to wash. Like it just, the dirt just comes right off it. So actually, Derek, the guy in the video that put it on, I asked him, because the back has been repaired, when do I put the ceramic coating on? He says, wait 30 days to let the paint cure before we put it on. But yeah, I would say, for me, living in an old neighborhood with huge maple trees and lots of birds around, it's been very good. Going to have my Acura RDX lease up in October, early voting. Should I look at the new Tahoe Yukon or the new MDX? Okay, so why do you need to go to such a big vehicle? Like, these are big vehicles. You're going from basically a CRV-based compact utility to a body-on-frame pickup truck-based SUV. Is that what you really need? I don't know. You've got an expanding family. Here's the thing. There's no rush. You have a good vehicle. Maybe Acura can extend your lease a little bit. But the new MDX, not sure when it's going to be coming out, but it's going to be in the spring, like between the new year and the spring. So, yeah, you're not sure about your lease situation or whether they'll let you get out of it. What else would I choose in that right now? If you're, you know what, I like the Telluride and the Palisade. Go and check those out. You probably don't need a body-on-frame SUV. You probably like the look of them, and I get it. But please go and try those two. Also, the new Highlander. If you're just looking for space and comfort and features, they are going to deliver the mail all day long. Miss WMC, have you heard the Toyota Corolla Cross is coming to Canada? I haven't heard one way or the other. Toyota is one of those companies, they just don't tell you. You just will not know until they announce it. So I could tell you, but I don't know. And they're not going to tell me. Hey Zach, I'm excited about the upcoming BRZ WRX Golf GTI and R, leaning towards the BRZ with a naturally aspirated engine and standard transmission. Well, the good news about the Golf R is standard transmission is going to be available, and a sunroof as an option, which is nice because was never available with a sunroof. GTI is available with a sunroof, but yeah, the proof is going to be in the driving of those, because if they're just going to a larger engine with the BRZ and what have you, like if it's anything like the Crosstrek, it's kind of mixed results, right? That engine, in my opinion, in those two cars is underpowered. There's no torque. There's no bottom end torque to that engine. So making a larger engine is going to be better, but is it going to be exciting? I don't know. The new GTI with more power will be better. The new Golf R with more power will be better. I'll have to wait until we drive them to see what the Toyota 86 and the BRZ are going to be like. But the Volkswagens you can get with a manual. Any thoughts on either modding a Mark IV TDI or getting a Mark VI GTI? Well, the only thing about the Mark IV TDI is there's very few of them around. Because from what I believe, they were not repairable. So Volkswagen had to buy them back and get rid of them. So I'm not sure how you have a Mark IV TDI unless there was no settlement on that car. So Mark IV TDI is going to be a rare car as time goes by, less of them available. That's an interesting sort of conundrum. The Mark IV TDI is definitely is going to be rare in the long run, but it's not going to be like a GTI. So there you go. That's my thought of that. Because before, what year did they switch it over from the Mark V to the Mark VI? It's probably around 2011, 2010. So the cars before that were not upgradable. They couldn't do a fix for the TDIs. They had to buy them back. So I guess the one that you're looking at they didn't take them up on that offer. Hey Zach, it's been a while since I caught your live show. Been learning how to drive manual, and I finally starting to feel more confident on the road. Well, greatest bowl of soup. That's good to hear. I'm really glad. And the way I would put it, I was talking to somebody about this before. If you have the opportunity to drive manual now, and you've never done it, and you have access, and you may be thinking, should I get a manual or not? You probably want to get that opportunity done now, because there's going to be less and less and less manual transmission cars. It's going to be a fading phenomenon. So to have done it, if you're an auto enthusiast, and obviously you're watching a car show on YouTube about cars, yeah, why not? Give it a shot. So the K5, we did these guest reviewers on Motoring TV. And the one guy, Kyle, he and I were driving around, and he's talking about a manual transmission, and he loves a manual transmission. And we both agreed, we both said, after a while, when you drive a manual, the shifting part becomes automatic. Like your brain and your muscle memory, you just do it without even thinking about it. You come up to a light, you put the car in neutral. The light changes, you put it in first gear. You drive second gear, third gear, you downshift. All of that, after a while, you're not even thinking about it. It's all just being done automatically. Your brain and your muscle memory is just doing it. To the point where if you drive a manual transmission all the time, it's not a big deal. I don't think it's a big deal. I took my Toyota Tacoma pickup truck. I had it today. Our TV died. I had to get a new TV and take the old one to the recycling depot. And I drove it today. I don't even think about it when I drive it. It's just so second nature. So I'm glad that you're doing that. And I think that if more people get past the initial sort of phobia of driving a manual transmission, it becomes second nature. It becomes automatic. It isn't a big deal. What do you think of the '08 Mitsubishi Eclipse GT Spider? Good or no? I think it's overstyled. I don't ever like the look of it, but that's not for me to decide. If you like the look of it, what I would do is I would go and find a Mitsubishi Spider forum and see what other people who own the car have to say about it. But yeah, it was a bit busy for my taste, but there you go. Hey Zach, what's the best plug-in hybrid under 40,000? Not a fan of crossovers, thanks. I would have a look at the plug-in hybrids under $40,000. Well, probably you're going to be looking at the Ioniq from Hyundai. Is that a plug-in? Yeah, it's a plug-in. And the Nero, both have plug-ins, and they also qualify for rebates. And the other one that's is the Honda, the Clarity. I'm not sure if it's under $40,000, but it's got quite a bit of range. It's just an ugly car. So the Korean cars definitely have plug-ins that are not too crazy expensive. So I'd look for that. The Nero and the Ioniq, and have a look at the Clarity from Honda. Can you send a link to the video where you had an issue of a hard landing? I think Sky Harbor. I think I watched it during the lockdown. No, wasn't me. Sky Harbor? No. A hard landing? I don't remember having a hard landing. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, Sky Harbor, is that okay. What I don't have a video of it, but I did have a hard landing Somebody asked me, because I used to fly so much, if I ever had a scare. The biggest scare I had was going into Phoenix, and we were flying that crappy airline Allegiant, and I think it was a 727, some ancient plane. The thing rattled. It was just a horrible experience. I will never, ever, ever fly them again. Terrible. And we came in, and it wasn't Sky Harbor. It was at Mesa. And just as we came down, we got this crosswind, and it pivoted the plane up way up on one side. And I'm looking down over the wing, and the wing that's on my left side looked like it was inches away from hitting the ground, because the whole plane went up like this, and then went bang down on the runway. But it can be very windy there. But yeah, that was the scariest moment I had flying. But I don't have a video of it. It's in my brain, I'll tell you that. My brother just took delivery of the BMW M440 xDrive and is raving about it. Can you get your hands on one for a review? I'm not sure if it's available in the fleet just now, but yeah, that's the inline six-cylinder. If you ever watch me talk about this on this live show, I always say, if you can afford it, please do yourself a favor and get the inline six cylinders, whether it's the 3 Series, the 4 Series, the X3. If you're a driving enthusiast, spend the extra money and get the 440, the 340, the X3 M40 with that inline six cylinder. It is just sheer, beautifully engineered powertrain that just is one of the best engines ever made, in my opinion. The inline six cylinder from BMW with the turbocharging on it, fantastic. What do you want to see in the redesigned 4Runner? Well, my worry is they're just going to go with the 3.5 liter D4S system that they have in the Tacoma with mixed results. If anybody's driven the new Tacoma, it's a bit of a meh. It doesn't really have much jump to it. There is talk that they're going to do a hybrid version of 4Runner. I don't know. That could make it a little bit more dynamic, but then the transmission, how are they going to do that? I'm not quite sure, but yeah, I would like to see that 4 liter that they use now is terrible on gas, but it's a more responsive engine than the 3.5 liter they have in the Tacoma. And the downside is it uses a lot of gas. The upside is the resale value is killer on the 4Runner. So just the second only to Wrangler when it comes to resale value. So what would I like to see? I would like to see them not use the D4S 3.5 liter they have in the Tacoma. All right, where are we at time here? Oh, we've gone over an hour. Well, there, I think we're kind of done for tonight because I've gone over an hour and Andrea's making dinner, and that's going to be good. So once again, sign up for Car Cost Canada. Use the promo code Motormouth. Hey, I forgot to mention, if you want to get a picture of your car on the next live chat, which will be next Monday, send your picture of your sled to Zach@motormouth.ca. That's ZACK at motormouth.ca, or ZACK if you're American at motormouth.ca. Thanks to everybody that watched. I'm going to finish my beer and enjoy dinner, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great night, everyone. Take it easy.